And I don't recommend this for everybody. It's just what worked for me.
Look, I don't do public shaming.
We were just this lovely, plump family.
You have to live life right now.
Hi, and welcome to Living Large in America. I am your host, Lisa Quintana, and joining me today is Ella Weaver, a non-binary femme from the Deep South, currently living in Richmond, Virginia. Hey, Ella.
Hi.
How you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for asking.
So let's start at the top. How much do you weigh now?
Right now, as of this morning, I weigh 296.4 pounds.
As of this morning, do you weigh yourself like often?
Yeah, I signed up for, what is it called, Noom.
Okay.
And it requires that you weigh yourself every day.
Wow.
So that is the most horrifying part of that whole thing, is having to face that fear of the literal monster that you stand on every day.
I tried Noom, which to me, I'll be honest, was repackaged Weight Watchers. It markets itself as being very different than Weight Watchers, but functionally to me it was not. Most weight loss programs I have tried specifically counsel against weighing yourself every day.
I've heard that as well, that most other programs are like, no, don't do that every day, don't focus on that. I actually don't do it every day. I don't see a point in it for me personally. I do it like 2 or 3 times a week just to keep tabs on any progress. Yeah. At the beginning I was doing it every day, and it kind of started making me feel uncomfortable, like I was failing if the number didn't go down that day, or if it went up a half a pound or whatever. But weight fluctuates constantly, so I stopped doing it every day.
That's a thing that my husband, who has been thin his whole life, I told him, the first time we were together and I was dieting, I'm like, this is super frustrating. I'm doing all the things I'm supposed to be doing, and my weight went up, a pound, whatever. And, his reaction is the same reaction that a lot of habitually thin people have, which is that's not possible. And, obviously, yes, it is possible. And I think, like, my own experience is that it's not even all that uncommon. It happens constantly.
No, I can definitely agree with that. I was, what's the word? A pescatarian, where the only meat that I ate was fish and seafood.
Uh-huh.
For years, and everybody thought that it was like this diet thing and that I was trying to lose weight, and honestly that's not what I was trying to do. I just went through this phase where I could not stand any other meat for some weird reason. But over that course of time, people were like, oh, I bet you're gonna lose so much weight doing this because you're just eating fish and fruit and vegetables. And I'm like, y'all, you need to tie in something else to that, because I have a sedentary job. At the time I worked in a cubicle and literally would sit on my butt for like 8 to 10 hours a day. So
I have been there. That is, and that's one of the most frustrating parts of losing weight. Everyone's saying, oh, well, you got to get up and get more exercise. You have to get 10,000 steps a day in. But if you are, a worker in a cubicle farm, like a lot of people are, there's no way. It means that you have to spend like 100% of the time that you are not at your desk working on your feet moving, which means you can't like sit down to eat a meal, nothing. And that is so frustrating.
Exactly. And I actually used to get in trouble at that job because I get really antsy if I have to be still for too long. So I would get in trouble for getting up and like walking to the break room to get a drink, but I used to get in trouble for it. And I kind of thought that was a little bit dumb, but...
Well, it seems so counterproductive because, if you get up and move around, you get the blood flowing a little bit, you're less likely to just fall over unconscious on your desk. So you're on Noom. How long have you been doing Noom?
Since the 2nd of January, I think. It wasn't really everybody's like, oh, it must have been a New Year's resolution. It really wasn't. I have grown in my confidence in myself over the last several years. It's taken a lot of work to get there. But it was just kind of one of those things where I eat a lot of trash food, and I kind of just wanted to learn how to make better choices.
Ah, you are from the Deep South. Now, in my lifetime, I think I spent about a year living in Florida, but I was like 2, 3. I don't have a great memory of it. So all I have heard of the Deep South is that nutritionally it's a disaster area.
It is. We fry everything. That is, unfortunately, I wish that was a stereotype, but there's so much fried food and so much gravy.
Oh, see, that's what my best friend said. You travel through the South and you just get gravy on everything.
You do. You do.
Did you spend your childhood, like, is your family, heavy? Did you spend your childhood being heavy? What got you to where you are now?
So I've been heavy pretty much most of my life. My mom is also a little on the heavier side. My grandmother was. My stepdad, who I call my dad, he was. We all were. We were just this lovely, plump family, but I think that my mother has some serious unresolved body issues because she would actually make comments when I was growing up about, not eating this, not wearing that. She wouldn't even, I remember this very, very vividly, she would not even buy grapes because they were too fattening.
Wow.
And so that really distorted my thoughts and feelings regarding food. And I mean, she put me on my first diet before I was 10 years old. So the disordered eating started young. Pretty much everyone in my family, except for my uncle and my cousins, are on the heavier side. My cousin's got those lovely recessive genes where they can eat whatever the hell they want and they're still like a beanpole. But that's neither here nor there.
When it's the whole family, like if it hadn't been for your mother's own sort of issues, I feel like you would have been perfectly happy and everything would have been great.
Yeah, probably. I don't know. As I got older, she made comments like, oh, you look like you're about to bust out of them jeans. You shouldn't wear red. You look like a big old fire truck. But my personal favorite was my junior prom. I got this gorgeous seafoam green colored dress, and it was haltered. So it fastened behind my neck and kind of showed some of my back, and of course it was sleeveless. She hit the roof because I didn't want to get the little shawl that went with it, because what high schooler is going to keep track of that?
Sure.
But because my arms were too big to wear sleeveless, she made me get it and made me take it to prom, where I lost it.
And then you came home and went, told you so.
But she absolutely insisted that I buy it because, people with big arms shouldn't wear sleeveless.
Oh, man.
So I believed all that growing up.
Now, yeah, there was the messages from your mother very specifically picking out your body. What kind of messages were you getting outside of your house?
In school, from the time that I started going to public school in the 2nd grade, I was private schooled before then. From the time I started going to public school, I always got picked on for being the bookish, chubby girl. That's what I got picked on for. Being the kid that would throw the grading curve, or the kid that would sit in the back and read a book. But it always came back to, oh, that fat blonde girl.
Wait a minute. Are we actually the same person?
Maybe.
This is sounding spookily familiar.
That's always what I was made fun of for. It always came back to my size. It didn't matter. I had a weirdly diverse group of friends in high school. I was friends with some of the super popular kids, and I was friends with some of the angsty artists and some of the goth kids, and I didn't really fit in a clique. If you were nice to me, then I liked you. But even with having friends that had that higher social standing, I would still get put down by, the cheerleaders and the jocks and all of those lovely people.
My best friend, she and I met in first grade, and we are still friends to this day.
I love that.
And I kind of suspected when we got to high school that part of the reason she hung out with me was because I made her look better. And she was a cheerleader. She was on like the varsity cheer squad, super popular. And yeah, I was like, her pity friend, which I didn't really think about until I was an adult. And I'm just like, oh, I'm retrospectively squicked out by that. That makes me sad.
My high school best friend was 95 pounds soaking wet. She was just a very petite person. She was less than 5 feet tall and was always just very, very tiny. My mom used to joke that she had hollow legs because this girl would eat a double cheeseburger and a large fry and then like 2 slices of cake all in one sitting, and then like 20 minutes later want a snack.
What's really super weird to me is people like that are idolized. They're thin and yet they can eat like everything, and somehow that's like a virtue. And that is, it's not a virtue, it's a genetic aberration. And, it feels unfair.
Sometimes it did, and I actually often did wonder if I was the friend that made her look better, because she wasn't exactly the most popular kid either. But I often wondered, if I was the friend that made her look better. We actually drifted apart. We are not friends anymore. There's no ill will. I don't wish her anything poorly. It was just one of those things. We grew up, and she got married and had kids and moved to Texas, and I didn't.
Yeah. There was how your family and your friends were giving you feedback. How did you feel about yourself during that time?
Not great. I tried to hide my body with baggy jeans and like oversized t-shirts and hoodies. I was convinced that I just looked horrible, even at my smallest right out of high school, which was, I think, 175, 180, somewhere along those lines. Even at my smallest out of high school, I thought that I just was like a big parade balloon or something. I did not like myself at all.
Has that feeling about yourself, has that persisted into adulthood?
Yes and no. I went through a very toxic and very abusive relationship in my mid to late 20s. And getting out of it, I fell into a really deep depression, and all those feelings kind of started to come back, paired with the fact that I had been working in a cubicle for 6 years, and over the course of that time, having that sedentary job, I gained well over 150 pounds while I was working there. And I felt so horrible about myself, and I was so ashamed of my size and my body, and I just thought I was completely unlovable. I can very confidently say that I truly did hate myself.
Oh, that's heartbreaking.
It is. Looking back on it, I don't I don't talk about my don't really talk about my journey with like accepting myself or my weight. It's always a very touchy subject. This is actually the first time that I've ever agreed to speak publicly about it. Like, I had long hair most of my life because I was told that, oh, it distracts from your big size. And when I cut my hair off, my mom freaked. So it was just kind of one of those things that I really just did not like myself.
There is this standard of beauty, I think, that is distinct in the South from the standard of beauty in other places. What do you think? Like, what percentage of the female population, just naturally conforms to that Southern standard of beauty, do you think?
A lot. Most of my friends that I had in high school still conform to that. They have the long hair and do the whole full face of makeup, which, no hatred, I just don't like to wear makeup. It screws with my skin. The whole thing with the being tan and all that stuff, because most of my friends that were in high school never left our hometown, and they still hold on to that image and those same ideals.
And I never conformed to that ideal either.
I tried to, and I wanted to, and I knew that, that was what my mom wanted for me. And so you always try to seek out the approval of your parents when you're growing up and whatnot. So I tried, but it just never really worked out for me.
Now that you are an adult, do you feel more accepting of yourself and your body?
I do. It was actually after I got out of that really bad relationship. I was still doing the whole thing with the oversized jeans and t-shirts and hoodies and like trying to hide myself and pretend that I didn't care, that I became really, really close with my now best friend with whom I live. And they decided that enough was enough. And they took me shopping at Torrid for the very first time. And I actually started putting on clothes that I liked and that fit me properly. And it just kind of progressed, and I started dressing differently and dressing better and wearing clothes that didn't hide my body but celebrated what I had. That has really changed a lot of the way that I saw myself. I still predominantly shop there. It's really been just through learning how to dress myself differently and buying clothes that I like and that fit me that has helped me change my ideas of how I look and accepting myself.
That also, I want to say, is a little bit heartbreaking, because I feel like a lot of heavier people sort of dress like they have given up on themselves. Like they have been so drilled with "you are unattractive" that they feel like putting any effort into their appearance is a waste of time. Or there are some people that think that maybe it's shallow to care about your appearance. And yet I am 100% with you. If you are dressed in clothes that you like and that fit you, you suddenly feel so much more confident and attractive and worthwhile.
Exactly. And that's exactly how it worked for me. I started wearing the clothes that I bought on that first trip to Torrid, and then the next thing I knew, I had cut off my long blonde hair into a pixie, bleached it out, and dyed it bright blue.
Yay!
And my mother wasn't exactly thrilled, but I loved the way that I looked. That blue hair is still my favorite color. I really wish that I just would have kept it that color. I loved how I looked with short hair, and I loved the way that I was dressing, and that's when I started to actually learn to like myself.
How long did it take you to sort of find your own sort of style?
A couple of years. It's kind of changing a little bit because I work in a professional setting, so I have to tone it down a little with the, skull prints and whatnot that particular clothing store is known for. So I tone it down a little bit, but I still wear a lot of brightly colored tops and things. I work in a bank, so I feel like certain things that I do own are not considered professional. So the way that I dress is changing a little bit, but mostly it's still the same, and I still can put on a certain top or like just a certain dress or outfit and walk out the house and it's like, okay, I'm feeling myself today.
That's awesome. So have you noticed a change in the way that people treat you since you've started feeling better about yourself?
Yes and no. There's always going to be people that are just jerks. There's always going to be those people that want to make you feel crappy about yourself no matter what. But then there's also others who would make comments like, you seem so different, you seem so much happier, you're a lot more open, that sort of stuff. And there's always going to be that one person that wants to bring you down. But for every one of those crappy people that decides that they want to send you a nasty, hateful message on an online dating profile or make a snide comment when you walk by, there's 5 or 6 others that stop you and say, wow, you look really cute today. I like your hair. I like your top. So people did start reacting to me differently because I was carrying myself differently. I wasn't hunched over and looking at the ground and trying to hide.
Now that you're feeling a little bit, liking yourself a little bit more, feeling a little bit better about yourself and your style, you had said that you had started Noom to sort of learn how to eat better. Are you concerned about your size, or is that something that you're fine with? You have no need to do anything about the size that you are.
I am comfortable with the way that I look. That being said, I do want to get to a point where one of my best friends, he loves to go hiking, and I like to go with him. But I can only go so long before I start sweating like a pig and feel like I'm going to fall over. So I'd like to be able to do more things, but I'm not necessarily focused on, I have to lose this much and I want to weigh this much. It's not really about that number anymore. It's just how I feel in my own body. And if I'm comfortable, walking up 3 flights of stairs without feeling like I'm going to have an asthma attack, or going on a hike with one of my best friends, or whatever, as long as I feel comfortable in my body, then I really don't care what the number on the scale is.
That is fabulous. I feel like that's the dream, that you just get to feel good about the body that you're in and that it does the things that you need it to do. And that's kind of all you need, right?
Right.
And that's our show. I would like to thank my guest, Ella Weaver, and thank you, my dear listeners. If you have a story about weight, body image, size discrimination, or fat phobia you'd like to tell, drop us a line, info@livinglargeinamerica.com. You can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or most other podcast apps. If you like the show, could you give us a rating on Apple Podcasts? It really, really helps. Thank you for listening, and we'll talk again in 2 short weeks. Until then, stay healthy, stay strong, stay serene. Thanks.